It's time for another round of funny kids adventures. This time, Oliver accidentally turns his house into the world's biggest trampoline park. That sounds like fun. But will he be able to reverse the spell before it's too late? Let's find out. At the start of our story, Oliver is feeling bored. There's nothing to do, he says. His mom comes in and says, "You have homework, remember?" But even that's not enough to keep Oliver busy for very long. He finishes his homework in just a few minutes and he goes back to feeling bored. "I wish something exciting would happen," he says. And just then, his mom comes in with a mysterious package. "What's this?" asks Oliver. "It's a surprise for you," says his mom. She opens up the package and out pops a big book. It has a weird symbol on the cover. Oliver opens the book and starts reading it. The book is filled with spells. Suddenly, Oliver hears a loud crash. He looks over and sees that his mom has accidentally tripped over one of the family's shoes, and she has knocked herself unconscious. Quickly thinking, Oliver grabs the book and tries to look for a spell to help his mom. He finds a spell called the Sleeping Beauty Reversal, but it requires Oliver to say the spell backwards. Normally, that wouldn't be a problem, but he can't read backwards. To make things worse, each time Oliver tries to say the spell, the words just end up coming out normally. Just when he thinks he might have to give up, he gets an idea. He closes the book and looks at the symbol on the front. Maybe that'll help him. He starts to read the symbol backwards. As he does, the room starts shaking. The family dog, Toby, runs away barking. And when the shaking stops, Oliver opens the book again and finds that all the spells are now backwards. "This won't be a problem for long," he says with a smile. As soon as Oliver starts to read the spells normally, they begin to take effect. One spell makes his bed start bouncing up and down. Another spell makes his desk spin around in circles. Soon, the whole house is bouncing and spinning. At first, Oliver thinks this is really fun. But then he realizes he needs to fix this before his mom wakes up. Otherwise, she's gonna think that he turned her into a human pincushion. Luckily, he quickly finds the reversal spell and reverses all the spells. Then he goes to check on his mom. She's still asleep, so he gently wakes her up. She doesn't seem to remember anything that happened. "I must have just been dreaming," she says. She looks around to make sure everything is okay. Then she leaves to go get some breakfast. Once she's gone, Oliver quickly hides the book behind a painting. He doesn't want her to know he was reading magic spells. Just then, Toby the dog comes back into the room. He looks at the book and starts licking Oliver's face. "Don't look there," says Oliver. But Toby doesn't listen. He jumps up onto the bookshelf and knocks the book off the shelf. It lands right in front of Oliver's mom. She picks it up and opens it. "What's this?" she asks. Oliver quickly tries to hide it from her, but it's too late. His mom is already looking through the spells. "So these are the spells you were reading," she says. Oliver hangs his head in shame. "I'm sorry, Mom," he says. "I shouldn't have been reading your spells without your permission." "It's okay, honey," says his mom. "I'm just glad you were trying to help me." She gives him a big hug. "And besides," she says with a smile, "a little magic never hurt anyone." Then she comes up with an idea. "Hey, why don't we use these spells to turn your room into the world's biggest trampoline park?" she says. Oliver's eyes light up. "Really?" he says. His mom nods. So Oliver opens the book and starts to read. A spell that turns his room into the world's biggest trampoline park. And just like that, the room is covered with trampolines. There are trampolines everywhere. Some are big and some are small. Some are high up in the air and some are low to the ground. There are even trampolines on the walls. Oliver and his mom try out the trampolines. They jump and flip and do all sorts of cool tricks. "This is so much fun," says Oliver. But after a while, he starts to get tired. "Can we reverse the spell now?" he asks. His mom says of course. But just then, Oliver's best friend, Ben, comes over to play. "Come on in," shouts Oliver. "I have the world's biggest trampoline park in my room." Ben comes in and he's amazed at what he sees. "Wow, this is awesome," he says. He spends the whole afternoon jumping on the trampolines with Oliver. And Oliver is having so much fun, he forgets all about reversing the spell. Just then, Oliver's dad comes home from work. He walks in and sees the trampolines. "What happened here?" he asks. Oliver quickly tries to hide the book. Nothing, he says. But his dad doesn't believe him. He knows that Oliver has been reading his wife's spells again. I told you not to do that, he says. But you didn't listen. Then he notices that his son looks really sad. What's wrong? He asks. Oliver takes a deep breath. Dad, I used one of Mom's spells to turn our house into a trampoline park. But I forgot to reverse the spell and now Mom's gonna turn into a human pincushion. His dad looks at him for a moment. That's not gonna happen, he says. Why not? Asks Oliver. Because I'm sure your mom knows how to reverse the spell, says his dad. But if she doesn't, we can always just undo it ourselves. He gives Oliver a big hug. Don't worry, he says. Everything will be okay. Oliver thanks his dad for the advice, then he runs to find the book. He needs to reverse the spell before his mom turns into a pincushion. But it's nowhere to be found. "Oh," says Oliver. "I hope this isn't too late," he says. He runs to his mom and asks her if she remembers the spell she used earlier. "I do," she says. "Here it is." She hands him the spell. Oliver takes the spell and starts reading it backwards. It takes a few minutes, but eventually the spell is reversed. All the trampolines disappear and everything goes back to normal. "Thank goodness," says Oliver. "I was worried you'd turn into a pincushion," says his dad. They all laugh. "Well, I guess it's time to put the book away," says Oliver's mom. "But how do we make sure Oliver doesn't find it again?" asks Oliver's dad. "I have an idea," says Oliver's mom with a smile. She hands the book to Oliver. "Why don't you take care of it, sweetie?" she says. Oliver's eyes light up. "Me?" he asks. "Yep," says his mom. "We trust you." Oliver takes the book and puts it in his closet. "I won't let you down," he promises. Then he runs to go play with Ben. As they're playing, Oliver starts to feel a bit guilty. He knows his mom trusted him to take care of the book, but he also knows that it's way too dangerous for him to be playing with magic spells. He goes back inside and takes the book out of his closet. "Maybe I should just give this back to my mom," he says. But just then, he sees a new spell in the book. It's a spell that makes food taste better. Oliver loves food, so he decides to give the spell a try. He finds a carrot in the fridge and reads the spell over it. "Nothing happens, what?" he says. He tries it again, but the spell still won't work. Suddenly, he gets an idea. Maybe he needs to read the spell backwards. So he closes the book and looks at the symbol on the cover. He starts to read the symbol backwards and the carrot suddenly tastes like a delicious apple. "Wow," he says. "This is amazing." He tries the spell on other foods too. A banana tastes like a juicy watermelon. A piece of cheese tastes like a fresh strawberry. Even a bowl of oatmeal tastes like a sweet chocolate pudding. Oliver is so excited. He can't wait to show his friends. "They'll never believe me," he says with a smile. As soon as Ben gets to Oliver's house, Oliver gives him some of the magic fruit. "Try this," he says. Ben takes a bite and his eyes light up. "Wow," he says. "This tastes like watermelon." Oliver smiles. He knows he's in for a lot of fun with his new powers. Oliver and Ben eat all the fruit in Oliver's kitchen. Then they go out to the backyard to play. But Oliver can't help but think about all the other things he could change with his magic. He closes the book and looks at the symbol on the cover. He starts to read the symbol backwards and the tree starts to shrink. "What?" he says. He tries it again, but the tree keeps shrinking. Before he knows it, the tree is no bigger than Oliver. "Oh no," he says. "I didn't mean to do that." Suddenly, a bird lands on the tree. It looks at Oliver and says, "Thanks for making me a new tree house." And just like that, the bird flies away. Oliver looks around and realizes that he's changed a lot of things with his magic. He needs to fix everything before his mom finds out. First, he changes the tree back to its original size. Then he goes back inside to undo all the other spells. He changes the colors of the rug back to brown and green. He changes the curtains back to blue. And he even changes the clock back to the right time. Finally, he puts the book back in his closet. He doesn't want his mom to find it again. Just then his mom walks by. "How's the book?" she asks. "It's great," says Oliver. "I'm having so much fun." Then he runs to go play with Ben. As they're playing, Oliver can't help but feel a little bit sad. He knows he shouldn't be using his mom's magic spells, but he also knows that he can't resist the temptation. Maybe one day he'll be old enough to use magic. For now, he'll just have to keep practicing in secret. I can't wait until I'm a real magician, he says. Ben looks at him and smiles. You already are a magician, Oliver, he says. You just need to believe in yourself. Oliver thinks about this for a moment. You're right, he says. Thanks, Ben. And just then, the two friends start laughing. They run around the playground, flipping and jumping and having the time of their lives. Oliver might not have his mom's magic spells, but he has something even better, true friendship. And as long as he has that, he knows he can do anything. The end.